You are tuned to Kennett, Zenith, Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. And now, it's time for Talk.
Well, you remember 2007? You remember that awful you remember the hot weather that came in March. Fooled everybody. Everybody rushed to get out plants. We got out plants, and then in April they froze. Well, it's May. It's mid-May 20-something, and we thought we'd show you progress in the garden. But let me tell you, there's something here that I have nothing to do with. I wash my hands of the whole matter. This is my husband's doings. Are you seeing this pot with a tomato growing out the top and another tomato growing out the bottom through the hole in the pot? Now, he has 2 tomato plants he bought, and they're growing in different directions. And I really think he needs to tell you the theory behind what's happening here. Now, we do have some beautiful tomatoes in the garden, but he has some pretty good tomatoes here. Let him tell you.
Well, I saw the picture in a magazine of somebody raising tomatoes in a pot like this with a tomato growing out the bottom of the pot. So I decided might as well try that. And this is what the result is right here. Now, you can see that these tomatoes are really developing very well, and there are several more blooms on that top plant that's coming up there, and it's faring a lot better than the bottom one. But if you look carefully on the bottom one, you will also see blooms sticking out here at me too. But the interesting thing about this is that this bottom plant is growing not straight down, but it is coming out and turning up on the side of the pot. Now, when the plant gets bigger, I suppose that the plant will start drooping down a bit. And when this top one grows and gets a little taller, the limbs will start doing this, and they'll fall over the side, and I'm going to guide them over the side. And what we're going to have here is just a tomato plant which is doing this, and it's growing down, and it'll hang way, way down on either side of the pot. The problem is also that I don't have very much soil in this little pot. That's a big mistake, but that's all I can do now. I can't disturb this thing. So each day I have to put a cup of water in here from the rainwater that we have collected off the roof. So eventually now we're going to have a big, nice plant growing up here, and you can see the tomatoes on it, and they really are developing very well.
And he's counting his chickens before they hatch. We will really see if this comes to pass.
Okay, my tomato doesn't look too good today. I deliberately did not put a cup of water in here yesterday, thinking I would stress the tomato and make those blooms set. But yesterday we had a big, heavy wind, 25 miles an hour, and it just beat the top of my little bloom shoot here, just beat it to death, and it looks all wilted. And right here, these blooms that we're putting out beside these tomatoes, they all look wilted to me and not healthy at all. And these leaves look like they're wilted. The bottom is, I think, in much better shape than the top one, although it has no tomatoes on it. These blooms still look real healthy, real good. I have high hopes for them. But something's going here. And I suspect it's because I didn't put water in here, and most of the water is going to the bottom. That's the only thing I can figure out. Well, this whole thing may be a flop, but I put a cup of water in here just a minute ago, and hopefully that'll make this thing revive. We'll see in a little bit whether or not it revives. But those little blooms, I'm so sorry, they just look like they're dying. Both here and here.
I'm going to move it into the sun.
Okay. One of the other problems I think too here is that this plant has not gotten enough sun. We're just now, the sun is just now over the roof and shining on it. And I think that's one of the other problems. So I have set up my camera tripod over here, and I'm going to move it out into the sun so it has more sunlight all day. Now this is not this is not the best thing, and I can't leave it like this because I got to improvise some better way to hang it out here. But at least the sun is going to get it most of the time now. So we'll see. My experiment is faltering. Poor little tomato. I'm very sorry. You see, I've had to take the top plant out. As I showed you before, it started to wilt, and I have no explanation for that other than I might have failed to put water enough for it in this small amount of dirt. I thought the bottom plant was going to do all right, but as you can see now, the bottom plant is wilting also after I dug this out. Well, no doubt I disturbed all the roots. Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, okay. I don't know if it can be saved. I was so hoping that it would continue to grow. But now I'm faced with the necessity of taking the bottom one out and transplanting it, try to save it. However, how am I going to get that bottom plant out of there? It just got a hole about like that it's growing out of. How am I going to get it out? The only solution I have is to destroy that pot and cut the pot, the material of the pot, split it apart, and take that thing out of there. So that's what I'm going to do. As you can see, I'm going down, all the way down the side, and I'm going to have to turn this up and see how that goes. Can you see in there? And here we are. Okay, that's it right there. Now I'm going to have to take that out and separate it, just pull it apart out at the garden and try to set it in the hole. Okay, so I'm going to go try to transplant this in my garden. Okay, this is going to be a little tedious because you see I got to pull this apart and then just turn it upside down and put it in that hole I've dug over there. So let's see how this works. It ain't going to work too good, I can tell you. See, it didn't work like I wanted it to. See that? Those doesn't have enough roots there. And I think that's been the trouble the whole time, that there are no roots. Okay, now I'm going to turn the water on and wet that. So I've got to go turn it on.
Do you remember 2007? You remember we had lots of 70-degree days, and then we had a week of 80-degree days? Fooled everybody. It fooled the trees. Let me show you. Let me show you what happened. All right. Our strawberries are blooming. We don't know if it has stopped the strawberries. Look what it did to the corn. Just look at that. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? And of course, this whole row coming up. Now, there may be something coming up right there that may make it out here. Of course, it may be a weed. I don't want to really dig into it. I don't know about the strawberries as yet. Now, you see that? I can't really tell if that's just a lot of seed. We'll just have to wait and see what happens to the strawberry crop. And what's really sad is beans. Look at those green beans. They were so pretty. So pretty, makes you kind of want to cry. Okay, and of course, what else is sad? This whole thing is just sad news with what you tried. Look at the potatoes. Look at the potatoes. Isn't that sad? I don't know anything sadder than that. Of course, people say to me, now potatoes will come out. Even if they freeze down, they will come out. We'll see. We'll see. Now, the freeze hasn't really, it hasn't killed this sage bush, but I want you to know that this sage bush was almost ready to bloom. You know the song, When the Bloom is on the Sage? Beautiful sort of violet-colored blooms, and it's gotten all of them. I don't really mind that because I think the bush will still be there, and it's the leaf you want anyway, but that freeze, that cold weather, and we're still in it. We're still in it. This morning it's in the 30s.
Of course, you can't bother onions at all.
Yeah, that's good to say. Get a shot down these onions. And onions, they'll make it when nothing else will. Just freeze doesn't seem to bother them. I'm sure they don't clap their little leaves together, but they're going to make it. And the garlic. Well, as soon as it warms up, we'll be out here planting more seeds, and it'll probably turn out all right. We hope so. Have you ever seen anything more beautiful than these yard poinsettias? Now, the seed came from Mrs. Hall years and years ago, and we've struggled with them being small, but this year they outdid themselves. It isn't really a flower. If you notice, it's just the leaves on huge stalks. All right, they grow, they come on green, of course, and begin just to turn slowly like this. This is a little younger, and you see the foliage as it begins to turn, and the leaves as they turn. I don't know if you can get this burst of yellow down here. Actually, here's a burst of yellow too. But the yellows and the greens and the reds, and even look all up and down this stem, this stalk, I should say. And they will hold this 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks they look like this. Why does everybody not have these in their yard? The seed grow all up and down the stalks, and I'll come out and when that dries, those little bunches dry, I will take those off and save those for next year's crop that I will put out. But I hope you're able to get the beauty in the, can you see on this group of yellow? The leaf is yellow, and just the tip, it looks like it's been dipped in something green. And these, the same way, red, but they have a green edge or dipped in something green. They're beautiful things. And look what a beautiful combination that makes. Bug deterrent and beauty. You just can't beat it. And look at this pear tree. Here we are the first week in August. Now, this tree should have at least 2 weeks before the pears really reach maturity. Of course, we've been eating what's dropped off. They're not quite as sweet as they will be, but I think last night in that strong storm, I think this limb has cracked somewhere up in there that you are not going to be able to see. But look at that limb. There is no telling how many pounds of pears are on this tree. Oh, I'm going to have to make jam. I tell you what, there is no telling how much jam I will have to make this year. Enough for all the grandkids. But when they turn yellow, pick them carefully, wrap them in a piece of newspaper, and put them down in a box, each one in its own separate little newspaper bit. And do you know they will stay good through December as long as you can keep them from freezing? And pull those pears out and eat them well on into December.